remembering where I'm at and where I've been. Know that I'm far from home, but it feels like an extension. A warm smell keeps blowing from the kitchen. No, it's not a rat, but I'm not sure, 'cause it's not my kitchen. At midnight, halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning brewing, but that halloumi, yeah, it's through me. I said that midnight, halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning looming, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. First batch was a winner, the second was a sinner, then you went for one more. I don't know what it's doing to my inside, but my tongue well knows. The butter running down my throat, and I can't explain no more. No, I can't explain no more. A warm smell is blowing in from the kitchen. No, it's not a cat, but I'm not sure, 'cause it's not my kitchen. That midnight halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. No, I feel the morning brewing, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. I said that midnight halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. No, I feel the morning looming, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. Tick tock, clock, going past midnight. That's not the cat. No, that's not the rat. Hey, that's not my cat. Midnight halloumi through.
I asked yeah, hey Nathaniel, how's it going, man? I asked my friend Matt, who's the bass player for that, and who's also runs the Rock Shop, which is a music, instrument shop, where I bought my Jackson bass from. The other day, was it like last week, the week before? I said, "What the hell does a halloumi mean? Well, do you know what that is? A halloumi?"
Yeah, it's a kind of cheese.
Right.
You've never had halloumi?
I don't even know what it means. So he was saying like, I'm like, well, what, and when we're having this discussion about what that could mean as a song, what are they trying to aim at? And we got into like deep dive into like, midnight, naughtiness between couples, right? And all that. I'm like, could be that. Like, hey, can you go and make me, some cheese on toast, which is, I used to love as a kid. I'm not sure. I mean, like Swiss cheese, right? So-called Switzerland and all that. But we're talking about cheese, right? Because we're talking about weather patterns and stuff. We've just gone into autumn here, and within 2 days it just changed into like cold. And I'm saying to Joakim that like because of that, I've become really sluggish. My brain's like not really concentrating. I'm finding it really hard to get back into creativity right now, because we've got so many projects coming up, and I'm like, I need to get on it. And like, I'll just color to get some work out. But hello, Nathaniel. Thank you for hanging out. So Nathaniel does a secret spins thing. His channel is called Secret Spins, where he plays kind of like our vinyls that he chooses, right, himself, and we don't know what's going to be played until it's played. And so you're waiting at about 5 o'clock New Zealand time, 6 o'clock New Zealand time in the morning to see what's coming up. And so he's been playing some really cool stuff. The other day was Dead Kennedys, and last night, I think, or yesterday morning, or was it this morning? Could have been this morning, was Cypress Hill.
Nice.
From 92 or something, with like I can't even remember the name of it, but I think it had Insane in the Brain in it. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's really cool to the other thing, part of that is part of the YouTube is like now moving into the vinyl, listening to music, and so I'm listening to people play vinyls, listening to another lady there today playing, her name's B-Sides, and she was playing, just a DJing this whole thing of random types of music she likes. So I think this whole idea of internet and why YouTube is so good for us in this generation is how it's allowing us to reach across the world, not only to artists but also to creators, right? People who are doing their own thing, and it's changing really the way we communicate with people and how it could be like, when you're creating stuff, how to showcase your creation across the world. Like, Joakim, you're from Sweden, right? So before I go any further into this friggin' monologue, like I always do, so I'll get you to introduce yourself, right? So I'm going to put you on solo, and I'll put myself out, and I'll get you to do introduce yourself. Take as long as you want, and then we'll get into it.
All right. I don't need too much time for this. So I'm Joakim Hagstrom. I'm a comic artist from Sweden. I draw comics. I illustrate stuff. I'd like to work on like fantasy projects. I don't know how much to say. That's it, really. Yeah. But
right, I'll make sure I push you into conversations and stuff. So
yeah, sure.
sometimes when you get put on the spot, like I'm used to talk. I'm used to asking questions. It's just what I've done for years. Like just radio and stuff like that, being in theater and stuff. So it comes easy to me. But I do remember, I actually boiled my eyes out first time I had to speak in public and in front of my peers. And I remember that, and I always remember what it was like, and I never forget what it was like, because then I just, whenever I talk to people, I remember, keep that in the back of my head, how hard it can be for some people and how easy it can be for people, depending what their background is. So how long have you been doing comic book? Comic book artwork. I'm going to put up some work while we talk and stuff, so people get to see your style and as well, because it's because a lot of people, far as I know, don't know your work until I started showing, from my side of the world, what you were doing and what your work was like, and it's just amazing. So yeah, go ahead.
I'll explain myself. So I've just been doing art my whole life, basically. Comics was the thing for me since I was maybe like 4 years old, and I always kind of had my goals set on just being a great comic artist. After I got a hold of like the first thing it was I saw that like Todd McFarlane had done, I just got obsessed with, okay, comics can be like really detailed and really technical. Like I love that stuff. So I just wanted to get as good as possible at drawing comics. So after a while I decided I should probably just become as technical as I can possibly be. So I went off to art school to just kind of study technique, learn how to draw more and more, and kind of got set into more like traditional arts kind of direction. So I was more like doing exhibitions, doing like illustration work, doing portraits, stuff like this. Then I got kids, and I basically just decided to kind of shut it all down, because I was I had like 3 jobs, and I had like an exhibition, and I had like a book I was working on and stuff, and it was just crazy. So I took a break for like 10 years. And then like maybe 5 years ago, I just decided like, my kids were older. I suddenly had time to do stuff again. And I was like, okay, then I can get back to art, really sit and draw again. And I just got hit by this kind of weird feeling of, I don't know if you have it too, but this feeling that everything you do has to become something absolutely amazing. And I think it's kind of like the, you know, the FOMO sensation. Like if you're gonna do something, you gotta like become a millionaire, become the best artist in
Yeah.
the world or something. So I was like, okay, fuck that. I just want to do what's really fun, and I got back into just drawing comics. So yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago, I started working on my own projects. Decided that I really can't write for shit. So I started getting in touch with more authors who like want to work with me on stuff, and just focusing on the drawing bit. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. So yeah,
One of the coolest thing is like, you know, when I first saw your work, I was like, because you know, with this project, like I mentioned, you know, I've mentioned before to people that like this wasn't supposed to happen for at least another 5 years, because you know, with Fantastical Romi and Zeolandia, I was like, I need to take my time with this. And suddenly, you know, we got you coming going, hey, I'd love to do some work. And I'm like, you know, this work, he can do dragons. He can do dragons. I need a dragon, you know, someone who can do dragons, someone who can do fantasy work. And I'm like, I don't care, you know, I don't think I should wait 5 years for this to happen. And I think that's what I love about, you know, finding someone like you who can actually bring to life characters that are so well designed. And that's one thing that I really loved about seeing your work when we, you know, looked at your Instagram and stuff like that. They were so well designed, and they looked, and not only that, it looked like you enjoyed doing it. It wasn't like, hey, here's another piece of my work, and I'm just here to show that so you guys can see what I'm doing. It's more like you know, seeing the love in it. And I think that's something very important for artists is to, you know, like you're saying, like, oh, I got to do something really perfect, you know, I make $1 million, or you know, sometimes that's a pipe dream, you know, like you can even look at Todd McFarlane, like he failed, right? He lost $1 million or something. He went bankrupt. But then we look at, oh, he's back, and it's like everything is, and we always only celebrate his achievements. We don't think about how hard it was for him, what it must have been like for him to like hit rock bottom. I mean, I've hit rock bottom many times, you know, and so whenever, you know, I think a lot of people forget to mention rock bottom, you know, because I think people only want to know what it was like in the good times. But we see a lot. That's what, you know, looking at people's lives and stuff like that, you can see when they, you know, when they struggle through and how they got through that. And I love seeing your work, man. I think it's just so cool to be able to have someone of your caliber who spent so much time, you know, really working on this stuff. So what was it about like fantasy, or, you know, that sort of area that got you thinking about, this is where I want to go with this? You know,
I saw the cool stuff, you know. You know, dragons, creatures, magic. I like working with stories that aren't really bound into just kind of physical limitations. You know, if a story needs a dragon, then why wouldn't you put a dragon in it? Like, oh, you can't because this is like this and this kind of story. Yeah. And also because of this, like I want it to be fun when I draw. I like drawing these kind of things. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I liked. I mean, when I talked with you and Matt the first time, I was very clear with that. Like, you know, I'll work with you if I think the story is fun.
Yeah.
And Romi, that's a fun story. So that was like, yeah, absolutely, we'll do it. That looks cool.
Usually, you know, your lead's always like, I mean, I wasn't going out of my way to make a story about a female, because like I already had these other characters that we're going to introduce later on, you know. But like, I think like the whole idea was Dromi is from a dream, another friggin' story that came from a dream, right? Running, you know, in a dream, running through the bushes, and next thing you know, oh, I'm a girl running through the bushes, you know, there's somebody chasing me. And I go, well, what the hell? Why is she, you know, where's she running and what's she doing? And next thing you know, she comes to, you know, this dragon and so on. And then like, what if we play around with it a bit more? And I think these are like, this is the earliest prelim designs that you did for, you know, for Dramzel, who's one of our characters. And then we're trying to get sizing here. You can see over here with this, the size of him, you know, compared to Romalina here, sorry, I should say. And so you've got, you know, being able to make him big enough to where she can sit on him and fly, sit on his neck and be able to hold on to and fly along. And I mean, I don't even, a lot of times I don't think about these things until we're actually designing the characters and writing through it. Like I said, we're going to take 5 years. I was going to take 5 years to design all this stuff. So all of a sudden, coming up with 24 pages real quickly was kind of like, it felt like a rush job, but then also when like, is this story going to be fun? Is it going to be fun for me? Like you said, is it going to be fun for you to draw? And the cool thing is, like, because of technology, we're able to within hours, be able to discuss, how we go, where we go with this. And I mean, I just love seeing the artwork coming all the time. It's just, blows me away. You mentioned about like enjoying, these fantastical creatures. When did you actually decide that's where you wanted to go with it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think just from working on like more commissioned comic projects with other authors, when I was sort of like giving it a go with a script that's more like maybe only dialogue based, maybe it's just about some kind of character development or something, and then it gets kind of boring. Like when people ask me how it could be fun to draw comics, their point is always like, why would you want to draw like the same character like 500 times? But it's like, it's not the same character because there's things happening. That's what's fun with kind of the visual media, that you get to in yourself analyze, like, okay, how is this happening? What's this angle and stuff like this. And it's just the kind of variation in it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Fantasy has a lot of visual variations in it, as opposed to something that's like based in a big city with people talking and interacting. That would get boring for me pretty quickly. I think also it's nice when you're telling a story to bring it out of kind of this modern setting, because everyone is so used to a modern setting, and it's not, it doesn't get as kind of, it doesn't take you in as much as a fantasy story, because in a fantasy story you don't know what it's going to look like as the reader. So you open it and everything is new. But if it's got a modern setting, you'll open it up and it'll be like, I don't know, I don't like how this street looks, like, oh, this cafe looks boring.
And that's like in that whole thing, like somewhere, like if you're looking at like, let's say a street like in Sao Paulo, right? You look at that and you go, oh, okay, this is, and then somebody from Sao Paulo goes, yeah, that's not, that sign's wrong, or that shop is wrong, and you go, darn it, I should have just got a photo, and so on. But I think you're right about like the whole fantasy thing. You can like put in whatever you want. There is no restriction. I mean, the only limit is what you want to put in there. And I think the cool thing is like, this whole world is new, and it's not like exactly like Whangarei. And even like, I was putting up this, I had this image here where my idea of what it was going to be, and then like, we look at it and then you go, what's going to work? And that's the other side of things. Like, you can like, at the end of the day, you can see whatever is going to be there, but like, you try to imagine the place when it's going to be set up, accordingly, especially because this is like sort of based around New Zealand, and this area here is actually based around Whangarei City. And I mean, Nugget, who's actually been to Whangarei will know what these areas are, because the only thing that I wanted to make, be familiar to people is that on this, there's a bridge, there's a mountain, and there's bridges and these landscapes there, and whatever else goes around them doesn't matter, as long as they have something here and something there. And it's just awesome seeing the different, you bringing in something very original to that. And that's what makes it really cool. It's like being able to see, okay, here's my idea, and then having you, who's an actual professional artist, be able to really take that to another level. You know, I mean, like anybody could just chuck that thing in through AI and go, yeah, do me something like this, and next thing you know, it's taken from everybody else's work and goes, here it is. But that's what I love about it, is having to work with artists like yourself and go, what do you think? You know, and then we go back and forth about that, and there's a dialogue on what's going to work and what isn't going to work for us.
Yeah, it's fun to work with you with this because you're so flexible. You just give me like this idea, and I'm like, I've never been to this place, but okay, yeah, it's like you say, like, okay, there's 2 bridges, there's the village, and there's the castle. Okay, let's go. And I'm glad that you're just happy to see what I make up from it.
I think, I mean, like it's like, yeah, it's fun because I get to see these things that, like, you know, I'm not even thinking about in my head. Maybe I am. Maybe it's like it's really weird trying to create new things that don't exist, because sometimes it can be really fun, but then there's friggin' hard work coming up with all the, you know, all the, like, because especially when you look at something like this thing, I had to make a map for the damn thing, and I was like, how big does this map have to be? Because, you know, how do we make it work for us? So I had to go, well, it can't be the same size because everybody's going to be walking around, or have like, you know, there's no machinery, there's no cars to make people, you know, drive faster there. So I had to go like, okay, let's make it 10 miles, right? 1/10 the size. And that means that people can walk to the city in a couple of days and go into, you know, if there's battles, then they can, you know, a day's worth of walking will get you to the battle. Kind of like Game of Thrones. Remember when, like, they're stuck in that winter place for like forever, and people are like starving and dying because they run out of food? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was this battle with the city that was under siege.
Yeah, and it's, the cool thing is, like, you kind of like bring that sort of element to this fantasy world. It's like, well, there's so many different creatures in this world, right? Like, I mean, you got wyverns, you got dragons, you got elves, you got dwarves, you've got fairies, you got demi-humans, beast people, you know, humanoid, you know, half friggin' bear, half human body kind of thing. And there is no, the cool thing is, like, I have no restrictions on what they look like, right? because this is our whole new world. Like, you could have your friggin' Lord of the Rings, and that's Lord of the Rings lore, but, you know, the Zeolandia lore is totally different. It's being created new, so it's, you know, it's, you don't have to put any restrictions on how it is, apart from this person, this person, this person, and they're this character. That's it. That's that species, and whatever else you do to it, you know, doesn't really matter, because as long as it's fun. So I love seeing the artwork come through, man. It's like, you know, because, I mean, the first issue, we're basically having Romi into this world, and then next issue is like the world and the world and the world, and it's that's why I'm so, like, you know, there's so many very cool characters coming through. Now, when you're designing characters, right? I mean, I know you get a text saying this is, you know, a bit of dialogue saying this is what they are. How do you go about, like, designing? Because, I mean, I don't go, here's a design and go with this normally, because I don't really have anything solid in my head.
I don't know. I just think I just read it, and then I go, how would this look the most cool? And then I draw that. No, but I mean, it's I've read a lot of comics, I've watched a lot of movies, I have a wild imagination, and, you know, just take a breath, close your eyes, see what comes to you, and then you draw that. And then if it doesn't look cool, you ask yourself, okay, what does this need to look cool? And then erase and repeat. I think to be able to work with this kind of fantasy stuff, you need to have a pretty wild imagination, and I think you need to be able to really visualize for yourself what it is you're going to draw, and kind of having 2 separate paths in your mind, you know, one where you're the one who's steering, you know, you're like actually physically drawing stuff and thinking stuff, But then you also have to have this one where you step off and you're just kind of looking at what you just did, like you're not actually doing it. So you have this kind of subconscious just amalgam of all your kind of memories and your thoughts and your imagination that can kind of go like, no, it needs to be like this. And then your drawing mind can just be like, oh, that's a good idea, and I'll draw that. And I think lots of people maybe get caught up in the like physical act of drawing, and they don't really develop this just kind of letting go and letting a picture sort of work itself out. Yeah.
A lot of, I mean, like, that's one thing about making mistakes, right? You think you made a mistake, but you like run with it, and then you see, well, I can always go backtrack it. But sometimes those mistakes can turn into something really cool because you didn't even think about that. And I think that's, that's where, you be able to free yourself from the boundaries of like, I have to do it this way, and this is the only way it will work. But I find like a lot of people, especially artists who actually, enjoy what they're doing, they just let it run. And like, I mean, like, I send you a picture going, this is what I think, and then you come back, oh, this is what will work, and I go, yeah, that works, and it's really cool because, like, I mean, we'll talk about like, this sort of thing here where you're going to do it later, but we're discussing about runes, and how Sweden, has a this deep Druidic history, something like that.
Kind of, yeah, it's related.
Yeah, because we're talking about like magic spell, sort of like you watch a lot of like anime and stuff or games, right? Like especially with games, video games where they have like circles and stuff, magic runes, magic circles, which will send you off to somewhere else. And we're we had an early meeting and thinking like, okay, we could try this or let's try that, and I was like, well, maybe something that will work would be more natural, would be like part of the Swedish the European folklore and stuff like that could work for us, that would actually make this a bit more real, a bit more bound in mythology and stuff. But one thing I did enjoy, like I thought was really cool, was that you suggested that somehow what happens if we brought some people from there, from Zeolandia to Earth, because, okay, I probably better give you, guys a good quick rehearse of the story outline. So Zeolandia is a parallel universe to us. It's a world called Akashaara, and in Akashaara they have their own people, but there's this inside this place called Zeolandia. It's like the their version of Bermuda Triangle. People go in, never come out. So the way it works out for us is that throughout history, humans from our planet, our world, have accidentally got into there. And it can be various ways, right? It could be like through death, could be just being in some sort of freaking cursed something, right? Or other, they pick up something and now they're over there. Or they've been placed in a baby cot, right? A baby's been placed in a cot and now the baby's disappeared. And so Joakim was suggesting, like, well, what happens if, maybe somebody could come over from there to here? And I'm like, that's a great idea. And I have a story that we're already working on that could work really well with. And boom, now we figured out how to, turn it around where, like an Easter egg into one of our other characters. And so that's basically the, kind of like that outline of the story and how it's going to work, and that sort of allows us to is that me or is that you, bud? Yeah, it's on your side. There's some like background noise coming through. Sorry. I was gonna figure something, Luke. Can you hear me? Yeah. So that's basically the storyline with that. So we had like, I'm working with another artist on a monsters book. So with that monsters book, we realized that it would be really cool if we, because of what Joakim has suggested, that how about I, bring this character from Zeolandia onto Earth in the past, and now you've got a whole sort of line of stuff of how that world works, and that's something that it's really opened up like dialogue between my other artists and think like, hey, how do we work that into the story? Because that's a great thing about world building is that you don't have to be stuck at something and go, no, this is my story, this is how it's going to work. And I kind of enjoy that, working with the artists, and you know, real people having real thoughts about real creativity, and bringing something amazing to it. Now, I got a page from you this week showcasing a whole lot of work. Let me see if I can bring it up, and so we can look at that as well. But here's while I do that, here's a really cool image of Romalina, who's a witch, a so-called witch in their character, in that world. I really love this. We changed the hat around. So
Yeah, it was a good move to change the hat from a traditional witch hat to more like a cowboy hat or settler's hat or something. That was a nice touch.
And it sort of makes it her own original character, right? It doesn't like it's another sort of, it's like, the pointed hat, evil character type thing. Now you got someone really cool. I just love this design, man. I really do. I like, these really, because if you look at the other one, we had, let me just bring it up. So with the other one, we had the pointy hat, and you can see it here, and then you see like we changed it to the new one and it looks so different, and yet it's got its own original look to it. Like I said, it's not the same sort of feel, and it brings something fresh, brings a fresh idea to that whole the witch thing. It's like, well, it's
it makes her feel more like she's a kind of nature-oriented person. It's not this like dark magic witchy thing. It's it worked better.
I don't want to like go into the whole, okay, is she or isn't she an evil person because she's got a pointy hair? That discussion is like, well, let the story tell you, you can work it out. And man, these characters are so cool, Witchy cowgirl, got it. All right, then. But it also reminds me of Calamity Jane. Do you remember Calamity Jane? One of the most famous female cowgirls ever. And, she actually toured the world as with Buffalo Bill in the 1800s.
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about it.
Also, like kind of like Lucky Luke. Do you remember Lucky Luke?
Yes, that we had here as well.
Yeah, I've got the comics up there. It's just so cool. But I love the designs, man. I think it's so different from everything else we're doing, which is really cool because it's like this is a fantasy world, and you get to play around with these fantasy creatures, characters, and so on. Let me just bring up Dramzel, who's one of the other leads up here. So it's kind of interesting trying to like show bring life to this this character here, because I love what I just love the emotions that you bring through the facials and stuff. Like this one here's my favorite. It's just like he's deep in thought, right? And this is his human version of him from being a dragon to a human creature, which we call dragonoids, right? And it's just, I just love that. I just love this this expression on him, like deep in thought, but also like a bit worried. I was like, it's gonna be interesting to see what we, where we go with issue 2, because issue 1, we've already planned it out and stuff. And I think I'm into about 7 pages of issue 2, script-wise, where we introduce a Japanese character from 1600s Japan into it, and him arriving and being part of that world as well. And that's like bringing the whole samurai, life kind of like a culture into, you know, into Zeolandia, which is going to be interesting. So
Nice.
let me bring up.
Yeah, Dremsel felt like a really broody kind of person. Like the way I did the characters for this, I was basically just sketching up the script, and then when a character pops up, I'd be like, okay, just take 2 minutes and like let's sketch something up, and then I'd continue sketching up the script. And then I went back and thought a bit more on how they should look. So the stuff you put up now, that's really just like, I think maybe it looks like this, and then I sketch for 2 minutes, and then I go back to the script again. But doing something really quick, I mean, again, it kind of adds back to this sort of allowing for interpretation before everything is kind of like set in stone, you know. Because if I would have done something like real proper like character sheets, like this is exactly how it's supposed to look from the beginning, just from your descriptions, I feel like that doesn't really open up for like, okay, but how maybe my perception of this character will change by the time I've you know finished sketching up the script and everything.
But
I don't
that
know,
also like helps me as well, like seeing that, like seeing the emotion and seeing the way the character looks. I can also interpret the ongoing characters, or it's the way the character would behave. Like, because a lot of times when the way people look, they behave a certain way as well. Like if they have a hard look, you know, they'll also have like, you know, something that has been in their past, right? There's their effect in their past has given them a hard look, or they have a soft look or something like that because of their past and their experiences. And so, you know, it's kind of interesting to see that, and like, you know, yeah, thank you, Nathaniel. And it's just awesome to see, you know, the way this character is being developed. You know, since we, you know, usually, like I said, all I do is I write these freaking pages in there, right? And like, they just text, and I might have some idea in my head, but to actually, you know, see them come to life, you know, like here, it's like it looks really, you know, full on angry and like what's going on, and you kind of think, you know, where is it going? And even, you know, this look on.
I'm not fully happy with that. the panel to the right. She looks too goofy.
But you know, it's a place that she's caught in. I think even that, like that, when we go to, you know, when I go to write her later on for maybe issue 2 or issue 3, when we look at her, what's happened to her now, right? When Romelina is somewhere else now, maybe that will also. Hey Rico, how's Christchurch? Rico's just moved from Whangarei down to Christchurch. He's a huge comic book collector and a good friend. And I had him actually edit issue 1 of our manga, because I trust him to be straight up with me about it. No punches pulled, you know, to just have a word, make sure that I've got an editor or someone to have a look at and be straight up with me about it. So yeah, I think, you know, like watching each page and each character develop is so cool, man. I like it. It blows my mind, right? I think a lot of people wouldn't understand that unless they're in that boat, to be able to see someone take something they've created, I mean, thought of in their heads and written down, and now someone who's way gifted and has skills, has talents, bringing that to life. So, I mean, why do you think that this is, you know, why do you think she looks goofy or something like that? Because, I mean, a lot of people might not understand that. So, you know.
Sorry, what did you say? What do I think it's?
Yeah, why do you think she looks goofy?
Oh, because I made her eyes and her mouth in a different way, a bit from how it's supposed to be. So it looks like she's really like contorted with this kind of apologetic, surprised look. I don't know. After I'd done it, I felt like, okay, I'm just going to leave this for now, but I'm probably going to go back and change it. It didn't feel like with her character. I mean, she's not supposed to be so like weirded out by anything or stuff like this. I mean, she's
Yeah.
pretty cool, you know. She's a super old cool witch, and she
Yeah.
knows this dragon and everything. Like, why would she look like this? She knows where she is. She knows who he is. She should just be like, hey.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing. Like, I mean, imagine, like, I mean, this is what the reason I mentioned this is because a lot of people are, you know, jumping on board the AI stuff, right? Imagine asking, you know, not having this thinking in your head, right, about a character. You just type in something, it gets a thing, and go, oh yeah, it's fine. And yet you go, well, there is a lot more depth to this character, and this is why I think people don't realize why artists matter, because just this conversation right here is that, hey, I don't think that this character would behave this way because she knows this person and they've had this relationship. It's like, you know, like anybody, you know, when you have a relationship with someone, you behave a certain way, and you can get away with, you know, joking around and stuff that nobody outside could get away with because of that relationship. And I think a lot of people don't really consider that when it comes to art and how you develop people. So that's pretty cool to hear. Now, what did you like? I mean, you know, when we look at these characters, you know, you got Romalina and you've got all these different, you know, like magical creatures here, or mystical, whatever you want to call it, mythological. What, you know, what was it like, you know, coming up with designing that characters like these way? Like, you know, it's like, I mumbled up that question too badly, but like, you know, when you're designing like these sort of creatures, right? We know what they're called, and there are people have already done that, like a wyvern, right? Or a giant lizard. And but what's it like when you know, how do you go about putting your own stamp on these creatures? You know, designing it so they're yours and they're not like somebody else's. You know.
I guess I like this was a simple picture, because it's like, okay, it's a knight riding a giant lizard, yeah, and you gave me some great references as well for like this, what kind of lizard you'd like it to be and stuff, and this, so that's easy. And with designing the characters, I don't know, I haven't been thinking too much about putting my own stamp on it in that way.
Right.
It's because it's more important that the creatures and the characters fit into the setting and the story for me. I mean, if I'm just drawing like drawing a cool dragon, then maybe I would be like, oh, I want it, you know, its eyes should be weird in this way or something, you know, make it my own kind of thing. But the most important thing with a story is that, you know, you create a good flow, that the reader gets caught into it, but that the art doesn't take over the story as well. And if something is done like way too originally, then it's gonna stand out from the other stuff. It's not gonna fit in really. So with your story, the way I felt, it was more like, you know, it's all these creatures drawn in from all these worlds, and they're a bit more like stereotypical of what you would consider of these things, because in some way they're kind of some form of background to our own mythologies from this world. It's like this place is a passing through from other dimensions, and that's where we get our stuff from as well. Like our ideas of dragons maybe comes from this place. So in that sense, the dragon I draw shouldn't so much be like my own super cool take on a dragon. It should be like, yeah, what's a dragon? Dragon's this four-legged, you know, it's got horns, it's big, but it's also kind of human. So that's kind of the feeling I've had doing all of this. What are you using to ink these? I can show you what I've got if you want. let's see. Grabbing my pencil case from my bag. Let's see. So that's nice. A quick technical question to break the thinking out loud. Let's see. Here. So for the lines, I just use these normal fine liners. So just varying sizes. Most of it is 0.2. And then when I go in like rendering stuff more in detail, I use like 0.05 or 0.1s. Then when I do more like heavier lines and outlines and stuff, I use these guys, the Fudonosukes Tombos, which are really nice. I like the kind of hard tip ones. They're really good for making like flowy lines and stuff. And then I use for a bit of the rendering and also for like the blacking out, I have one of these nice Pentel brush pens. They have these like refill cartridges, so they're really nice. The tip never really gets bad. So yeah, usually just those three guys.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's Nathaniel was talking about like the other day. He was talking about like getting into comics as well, because he's a he's a collector of sneakers from what I remember, and also vinyl. But because I was over on his channel and just talking about stuff, and he checked out the channel, this channel, and then he said, "Oh, you do comics and stuff." He said, "Oh, I got And I said, "Okay, well, go check it out." So he actually, we started getting into the discussion about comics creating and stuff. So that's the other cool thing about where I sit. It's like with being kind of like the director of Oceania for Rising Sun Comics, is that slowly building up like our own books allows me to actually be able to create room for other people to come into as well, who have ideas or have who have work, who want to bring that work into what we call the studios, where they still own their work, and then we publish it for them or print it for them, get it down to the shops and so on, or we can take them on board as part of us, part of Rising Sun, where we actually put all our effort behind creating and developing that work from whatever idea they have to future products, books and stuff. And so that's something that I'm really excited about, because I mean, everybody who's an artist has somewhere in their background wanting to do a story, because like they say, everybody's got a story, but not everybody knows how to develop that into something, or even after even having done that, how to get it out there. And so that offers working as part of like Oceania side of things, and as a director of that part, allows me to work with people who are interested in getting their work out into the world. And I think that's because of like the internet, right? There's so many tools available. Like we're just saying, you just learn what inks to use to help you dip it. And to be able to know what's available, like just these short little conversations that we have here, but also anybody who's interested, do hit up risingsuncomics.com. Let them know. I'm sure there's contact details there. That if you're interested, because like there's different studio things they do. They do studios like I just mentioned. They also do their own work. They also do non-profit stuff like GI Joe, and so on. And that sort of helps people, who are thinking about getting into comics, but haven't really got to a professional level, or just looking, cutting their teeth, like 12 pages here or 2 pages there, or a poster or something like that. That also can help you get, develop your work. And I think that's a cool way to be able to break out into comics, is to have, to get someone alongside you, help you work through things. Like even today, right? I think it was last night, I sent a picture, like a pin-up that somebody did for us, and for Robot Nation. I said, I did the coloring, and then I went to Greg. I said, hey, Greg, I don't think this is it's not, I think there's something wrong with it. I just can't see it. What's wrong? Can you have a look at this? And write down a whole bunch of stuff. I said, this is what's wrong with this. Like, oh, crap. Yeah, you're right. Like, the lighting's not right. It's not coming, I kept, my first lighting went this way, and there was no other secondary lighting. And so he goes, well, try that. And I use this lighting, and I use that lighting for that. And then figure out if it's like this or what are you aiming for. I was like, sweet, now I got something to go off. Right? Before, I couldn't figure out what was wrong, but I knew something was wrong with it. I think that's pretty cool to people out there who are actually, who can do that for you. Like, because this pinup was for somebody else did it for free for us. And I'm like, I don't want to look. I decided to color it myself when it could have been easier if I paid somebody else to do it. But I was like, I wanted to have a go at it because I don't often color. And so, I had to make sure that even once it gets out there in print, it has to look good because, it's somebody else's work that I'm working on. And, with us, that's what I'm saying, designing these characters, like there's so many of these characters are already out there, right? Dragons, everybody knows what a friggin' dragon looks like, right? And so on. And everybody knows what a dwarf looks like or a witch looks like. And how do you make it original to this world and yet still be recognizable as something that people would, oh, that's a dragon. Oh, that's how do you as a creator, as an artist, work that out? Like, I know I said some references, but like, it's something really different when you actually have skills in this area and then bring that to this, to this work, and and just make it your own, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the answer to your question is, as an artist, you have to kind of mentally gather together a lot of references for things. You have to constantly feed your imagination. You have to look at stuff. You have to read. You have to sit down and just analyze, stuff you like. Like if I have artists I like, then I'll also sit and read that stuff over and over again just to get a feel of like what makes this special, and then just gather all that together, into your own mind, and once again step into this kind of two-path creation process where you're actively drawing, but you're also on the other side, subconsciously just judging yourself. It's a weird question because it's just a personal thing. How do you get an imagination? You get an imagination by looking at stuff and having this kind of weird inner visual sense, being able to close your eyes and see something. I don't know. Maybe everyone has that, but I get the feeling not everyone has that. And then kind of working that to the point where, you don't have to close your eyes to see something. If you have an empty page in front of you, then, you can see on that page what you're going to do. And then it's just a matter of filling it in, and, changing that in your mind. Like, oh, when I see this in my mind on this paper, then it doesn't look too great. So how do I change this? It's about building up a visual sense, I think, so you can see your own ideas before you draw them.
Yeah. We're talking about monsters and stuff, but one of the things, like, not monsters, but creatures and stuff. One of the things we do is like there's a real human element to the story as well. It's not just about creatures and not about fantasy. There's real, really, that's one of the things I really want. I've been trying to really bring to the stories is the human element to what we, what I do with this, because you really, when you're telling a story, if you don't have a connection to any of the characters, it's forgettable after reading it. It's like you go, oh yeah. One of the things is, as creative people, we do is, like, we want people to go back and read it, or something they missed out, or think about it years to come, or even next week or something. I was just talking about you, Greg. How are you going? I was just talking about your comments on my piece. Like, let me just bring it up because I'm mumbling here. Hold on. Because I've having someone like critique your work is a really cool thing, because I think a lot of people go, oh, they said this, or they might say something that's nothing. But when you actually go seek out critique, you're not doing it because you're hoping that they go, oh, it's all good, it's all good. You're actually going, tell me what's wrong with something, and show me what's wrong. Why isn't it working? And so I'll just bring that up. Just well, we got Greg on here. Let me show you. You get an idea of why, what wasn't working for me. So you can see here, right? Like the lighting, the lighting I was working in was going to be from here. And so there's no other lighting. So it's all coming this way. So I'd actually had a yellow thing fade out with yellow light that was coming through. And I used that as how to work it. But I didn't, there's no highlight. It kind of looks flat because there's no other lighting. And so that's one of the things that, I got back saying this is, it's not working there. But the face was really, I couldn't get the face right. I had to, the stomach was perfect that I could think of, right? It worked for me. I could put a bit of highlight here and a bit of highlight here. But I couldn't figure out the face, and, so that was something that I could, yeah, I know. I know his work's cool.
We know, Greg. Thanks, man. I mean, do you want my 2 cents on the face?
Sure.
Yeah, the inking on it is drawn so that the face looks metallic, and metal doesn't reflect light in the same way that skin does. So you've done the kind of gradient shading on the face as if it's skin, but
right.
Yeah, so metal, it would have much more clear highlights over the nose, and on the forehead, where you have where you have this kind of metallic rendering, you would have a sharp highlight along that as well if it's metal.
Right.
So probably just that, like a sharp highlight there. It would be more highlighted maybe on the nose and on the cheekbones to make it clear that it's metallic. Also now, when you have the colors so similar to a skin tone where you have on the hands and the belly, that also confuses it a bit. I know in the original pics you showed me, it was more of this kind of turquoise color. And then it was very clear, like this is probably some kind of material,
I kind of like went like, what if I made her look like she's got silicon, human silicon tones on her, like plastic over the top of her flesh, kind of pulled over. And that way we make it a bit more humanized. But like, yeah, you're right. I might probably better if I just go back to metal rather than trying to become, make it human. But yeah, I had fun with it. The gold, like usually, the normal ones actually got like the normal version of this that's actually for the character is actually silver. But I wanted to play around with like the opposite of that, go gold and see what it would be like with the gold. And so yeah, I kind of, let me see if I can pop this out into a bigger screen image so you can get a bigger idea.
No, it's a nice. I think you did a good job with the choice of colors.
Yeah, I wanted to be a bit more fantasy kind of element to it, but it has kind of that's why I was trying for the skin tone. But I mean, I like the that's one of the let me go back to the other one because it's blown up way. But one of the weirdest thing about this is that like I didn't realize that brown, like a bronze, would become really cool, like dark tone to gold, which really is something, because I'm not a colorist, right? But I'm a painter and so forth, and I've done painting and stuff. So, but when you look at this, the dark tones around here basically are actually copper or bronze, and that's
Yeah.
made, the hue has turned the tones into really nice, kind of like going into gold and kind of lighter tones, has made it really, I learned a lot just by looking at how that works. Because with digital, because I don't often color, I just do flats and stuff and leave it at that. Now, back to so here we go. So back to the human story, right? So with this, we've got the story is basically, I don't want to give too much of the story away because you guys will see this when we release it digital first, because all of our comics will come out as digital single issues first, and then then when we go to Kickstarter, we'll print it out as as a whole with all issues as one, and like trade paperbacks, single issue floppies with variant covers and stuff. But one of the cool things about this is like you get to, as I was mentioning earlier, how to humanize a character and how to make that character, make you fall in love with that character or care, not fall in love, but more care about the character. And I found like I don't often don't usually talk about have kids in the stories, because I felt like that's kind of I don't know what it was like. I just didn't think like having kids in stories meant that I couldn't tell grown-up stories or mature stories. But I found that like if I kind of put like some of their past in it, it allowed people to kind of like connect to it. Like I connect to stories, right? If I know a little bit about their background as children or young adults, like 7, 15 or whatever, what happened to them. Because everybody, as we all know, our journey through life from childhood to adulthood, a lot of things happen. And so that allows us to mature into who we are now. And I think, with Romy was really, I really deep dived it more than I've done with the story. So you as a parent, I didn't even know you were a parent until we talked about it later on, like about weeks later. That you're a parent of young girls, young teenage girls. What has it been like for you working with a teenage girl?
Uh, there's something really weird with your sound. I don't know if it's saying.
I think it's your mic feeding back.
But I have it in here only.
It's this one feeding off like whatever mic you've got, so it's too close to you. So
Okay.
it's fine now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I am not very technical. So your question was, can you repeat it?
Yeah. So what has it been like writing a story about a young girl being a father of 2 young girls?
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot of like tragedy in Romi's story with her parents' situation and her emotional situation and everything. And honestly, I don't think I related her too much to my own children. More her emotionally, more like to just myself being a kid, because I was into this kind of mystical occult stuff, and kind of had this feeling of being on the outside and not fitting in, and going from kind of being understood by my peers to just being some weird kid. So to be honest, she's more like a reflection of my own experiences than with my kids. I probably unintentionally have drawn her looking a bit like my kids, just because I've looked at my kids so much. But yeah, the experiences, it's much more about my own emotions and my own experiences. Yeah, that's definitely how I felt.
We don't want to give you guys too much of the story away, but I mean, like, she's like, she's into stuff that not everybody's into, right? And that's kind of like any kid, right? Growing up, is like, yeah, it's definitely your head, your mic. Whenever you put it away from your face, it does that feedback. So bring it closer to your face. Yeah, right in front.
Right in front. Okay, like right here.
Yeah, right in front of your mouth.
Okay, yeah, this is right in front of my mouth.
Yeah. Let me put you. So yeah, I think close. That's what's doing. It's like a feedback loop happening. Because like if I shut you off, it's like it's not there. Yeah.
I could try to switch to the mic, the internal mic on the laptop instead. Just.
Yeah. So Romi, like we go into her childhood, we talk about what's there, and then suddenly she's like not on Earth, right? And how she gets not like how she disappears. You know, it's kind of an interesting way. Like we talked about earlier about how you can go into this world of Zeolandia various ways. Like you could be in a battle and you'd be like disappear, right? And I think that's something that like for me, like I mean, what do you think about that? Like, you know, being able to like have all these different ways in a story that's not structured. So you're not like if you die, you get there, and that's the only way you get there, right?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, but
okay,
the
good.
sound's really getting louder. I think it's definitely the feedback from the mic.
Okay, I shut the mic off now, so it should be fine. I mean, it's just good. Anything you can do to make a story sort of more open and just more imaginative is good. And again, like working with a more fantasy-based story, why wouldn't you try to make the story more interesting if you have a chance to? But yeah, I mean, when I've tried to write stories just for myself with my own ideas, I've been a lot more like, you know, trying to just box in the story, like this is what happens, this is what's gonna happen, and I think I get in my own way trying to write, just because I do that, because I don't have this sense of just kind of letting stuff work itself out. But I mean, it's two very different processes as well, and it's weird to switch in between them. Yeah. But that's, I mean, you talked about how you appreciate, you know, being able to write something and then handing it over to someone who draws it. On the other end, I really appreciate being able to just be handed a story and I can just, you know, see it play out and draw it. I don't have to do this whole like, but how does this person feel? What would she say to this dragon when they meet? And I want it's like, I don't have to think about it, because you know, it's like I watch a movie and then I draw what happens in the movie. It's very nice.
Now I should have your what is your Instagram, so I can you know, we can look at some of your other work rather than just looking at this work, because I would like to showcase people, you know, show people your other work as well, because it's amazing work. So check here we go. So let me bring that up on Instagram. So if you guys are checking out, you know, want to check out more of work from Joakim, and it is Joakim, not Joakim or Joakim. I had to work that out early on because pronunciation wise. So let me get to Instagram and we can have a look at some cool work. There we go. When will come up. And here we go. So this is basically what I went off, and when we got sent work, and I was like, you know, check out his work, you know, where we go back lower, come down. It was a dragon that really made me want to go, okay, this is someone we need, you know, they'll be really cool to work with. Where are we? You know, and you can see, you know, I mean, you've really, you know, developed your work over time. It's not something that's just suddenly here it is, you know. And and I think it's just awesome to see some of the great works you've done.
Yeah, thanks.
This is really cool. It kind of actually reminds me of the work that like the line work here of what similar to what Greg is doing right now with his work that he just colored some work with. It's like interesting line work on this one here. Now there you go. Look, just so crisp. I love the details, and I also love the Christmas, like the line work being so crisp and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Now, sci-fi as well. This is pretty cool. So, what's this one for? Commission done through the survey. So, what was this about?
This was I did for like to kind of develop my own website and how I take commissions for this kind of work. Yeah. I made I call it a survey, but it's basically where you can plot in like, okay, I want it to be this dark, I want it to be this violent, I want it to be this detailed, and you like ticking in boxes with like kind of artistic values, like I want it to be very expressive, I want it to be this, I want it to be put in this time, I want it to be more in this genre. So for people that want to order stuff from me, so then they can just kind of, because usually people are like, oh, I want like a cool picture from you, and I'll be like, okay, what do you want it to be? And they're like, I don't know. And then I'll have to sketch something up, and they'll be like, oh, that's cool, but can you do it a bit more like cool? So I made this survey so people can just kind of box in everything they want, and this one I did for one of my bonus sons. I wanted him to have a picture from me, so I had him fill in this survey, and yeah, he wanted a sci-fi pic. What was it? That was kind of like the poster for an old sci-fi movie, and he wanted it to be very detailed and kind of violent. I think was the kind of general idea of it.
I can see why you want, because like Joakim did a cover for Robot Nation, which also another friend who's watching this right now has done a cover for, and I can't tell you his name because it's a private thing. So even though I would love to do it, because I know we'd get like lots of people wanting it, but just believe that that cover is done by a very good artist and colorist, and it is worth, when we go to Kickstarter, it'll be worth your time to get that cover, because it is really good. And also, like, I'm going to bring up Joakim's artwork here as well for that project as well, because like one thing like I did was I reached out to all our guys. I said, hey, listen, we've got this project coming up. I'd love to showcase your work, in this work, because this way people will get to see your work before they actually see your book come out. And everybody was like, yeah, let's do that. And so we did various pieces of work for this. And so with Rising Robot Nation coming up, we had Joakim do one as well, which is really cool. And let me show his one. Oh, went too far. Where did you go? There's Christian's one. There's G-Spot, and there we are. So there's this really cool, we did a pencil, and then and I liked it so much, I said, hey, can we do another one? We'll use this one for a limited edition for shops. So if shops, if they backed us, we'd give them like a 5 regular cover, give them a white cover, and then they'll give them a free cover of, which is what I'm going to show you here. But this is what we call the regular cover. inks for that. So so here's the finished art for that. And so this is what was the base for that. And this is the cover we did for everybody else they could buy, right? So if you back the Kickstarter, you'd get this cover, and you'd get this version, which is called the bloody version, I guess, of the one that we did as a limited series, which is this one here. Only, whoever's going to, as many shops will back it, is the amount of these that will be printed, apart from another 5 for ourselves to hold on to, or 10, depending, because I'm sure Joakim would want one copy as well, right? And so, and I would definitely want one for myself. So apart from the creatives and, our own company having a couple, there'll be no others printed, because it'll be just for the shop. So if you're a shop owner, comic shop owner, if you back our comic book, standalone. So it's a standalone book. You don't have to worry about buying any other copies or whatever. But although I'd love you to buy issue 2 and 3 when it comes out, there's a standalone anthology series with 2 short stories. And this is a store only, limited store only cover, because I loved it so much. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's do something special for the stores. It'd be really cool to have the stores have something. So, you can see the detail in this work. It's just, tell me about this work, man, because I was like, how did he decide this is what he wants to do? Because that's what I love about you guys as artists, bringing your own idea to this world, right?
So I really like these two, the male and female character in one of these stories, and it kind of ends off with sort of them kind of alone in the middle of this world where the robots are taking over. So this picture came kind of from me just thinking like, okay, how is this going to continue? And I imagined them kind of trying to hide from these gangs of robots that are going around looking for humans to kill, basically, and sort of and ending up in this place where they're kind of stuck hiding from these robots, and the robots are trying to imitate human behaviors that they haven't really been allowed to yet. And then I ended up with the robots playing poker. They don't know how to play poker. They have like different amount of cards. Like it's all weird, and they're and at the same time the human character there is just kind of hiding, waiting for his chance to hit back. So I don't know, in my head it felt like a nice, because there's like a hint of humor with this card playing thing, and then there's this tension with him stuck under the table, and then there's the big bloody knife as well, kind of signifying that it's not all easy, this situation.
I at first I didn't even notice him here, because I was looking at all this when I first saw it. I was like, oh wait, there's a guy there scared, and it's like, what I love is like the actual like designs of all these. They're not all the same, which is really cool. To having your own sort of like interpretation of what a robot will look like, because we know how many robots are out there, right? I mean, designs of robots. So having someone do something very original is really cool, like this, and just it's just freaking awesome. But yeah, I didn't realize what you're doing with the cards, so it's really cool to know that as well. That these guys are trying to figure out how to play cards. And, like, you can see the coins there, chips in. It's really cool, man. The story behind this art, it's just it's like asking someone who's plugging in what is it called, words into a AI thing. Oh, this, and like there's nothing else to it apart from that they just chuck that in. But like here, you get a why that's there, for a reason why it's there. And I love, like, I just noticed the lighting. The lighting's really cool on this as well. How it's coming through. It's just really, really beautiful the way it's lighting it up here.
It's supposed to be a bit of a play on this, classic dogs playing poker.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Painting. Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah. And and like I said, like the if you're a comic shop owner, you're going to get this free as part of the package deal that we're going to do for Kickstarter. So you get a free limited edition. It'll be worthwhile just to have one of whatever in the world for that. And yeah, Greg's saying that's cool. So since we're here, I'm gonna let me see what else we've got here, because I want to find that page where we've got all the pages up. Because how far in have you finished the comic story of the actual artwork for this story?
Let's see. I'm on page. I've inked up to page 18, I think. So pretty far.
But you've been working back and forth, haven't you, with the different stories and stuff as well? Like, I mean, with the pages, sorry.
Yeah, a bit, exactly. I have another script I'm kind of sketching at as well, but mainly just drawing Romi right now. Trying to get
what I meant was that you're because you're working kind of like out of, you're not linear on this. You're just like this and then there and then back to that.
Yeah, exactly. I left one or two pages behind to kind of look at them again and get a better feel for what I want to do with them and stuff.
Now, where is this one from the photo I got sent? Now, can you are those pages on the wall, or do you have them in front of you?
I have them laying around. Do you want me to show something?
Please, that'd be cool. I'll put you on hold in a minute, and we're just going to be able to see that, because I'm trying to find the one with all of them together in the photo. There we go. Found it. Took a while, but we got there. So,
yeah, go ahead and show that. I'm just going to grab a few pages off the wall.
So this is like a photo I got sent this week, just the pages that he's done and stuff. So you can see, the way it's done up, like a storyboard, what's finished and what isn't. So I can see what's going on. So I gotta, we gotta figure out who will get to do that coloring on this at the moment. That's why it's got to be decided there. But yeah, I think for this story, we don't do regular 22 pages like everybody else. So with our comic books, it's always more like about 24 pages or 28 pages per comic book. Because with something like when you do with Kickstarter as a release, you want to give people a bit more extra. So pages become 36 is a normal for us, or with so much beautiful artwork coming in for Robot Nation, it's going to be like about 44 pages. So yeah, it's not going to be a regular $15, for a what you call it, or whatever it is, $10 or whatever it is. But you'll get extra artwork with it as well, and beautiful artwork, And there's some amazing artwork. I mean, Art Victim has got a whole bunch of work he's going to put in as well. So, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So here we go.
All right. So I'll get to show off some stuff. So some pages. Here's one that Aru showed as well. This is page 15 with this lizard running around in the center panel.
What size are the pages?
So these are like A3 pages.
Right.
So I usually work on these kind of heavier artboard pages. So this one is nice. I still have background to add in here as well, and a bit in the background here too. And then the magical circle thing needs to be added as well. When it's more finished. I can show you a page I just finished as well, Aru.
Sure.
So here's one, the last one I inked most recently.
Oh, that's the Knights, right? So can I see that? Show the bottom panel for like closer. Yeah, that looks cool.
Yes. So there's this this angry female knight and her soldiers, and yeah, they're kind of looking for Romi there in the woods, shimmering through somehow.
There's going to be some awesome colors on this, man. I like, we were talking about that one that you got said, you know, it would be cool to see what the colors come up on that between the panels. Are like, it's going to be so good.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice in color. This one, here's a nice page as well.
Oh, it's so cool. Can I see the top panel? Because that's so detailed at the top there. Look at that. Oh, look at the lizards.
Yeah, the lizards are fun. I like them.
Yeah.
They have lots of character. And
they all look different too. If you look at the faces, they're all different. Like the one on the like on the left, right? It's got this wider face, and then you got the other one that's like sort of like thinner, and then in the middle it's like even more thinner. So yeah, they look so cool. Just seeing the different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna turn out good. That's a nice page. Here is the page I'm working on right now, kind of in the middle of the inking.
Awesome.
Yeah. So here we have Dremzel kind of just waking up and then sort of bursting out of the stone. Yeah, and we have Romi down here, kind of being caught semi off guard.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Haven't really finished how it's going to be down here.
Yeah,
I don't know. I had an idea for this panel, and I was just like, nah, you know what? I don't like it.
Yeah, they just rubbed it out.
Yeah. Do it again. See what happens.
By the way, guys, Joakim basically works full time. So all this, the time he actually, you know, is taking to do this on the side, you know, on his free time to do that. So he works as a, was it like a physiotherapist or what is it like?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a physiotherapist. So I work in a rehab clinic 4 days a week, and then I draw the rest of the time. Here's also one that's kind of in the middle of being done. So this is a nice pick as well.
I love the details on, you know, on both of them, but like all the what is it, like the pen the stones and stuff breaking on the bottom. Can you show that? Yeah, that is so detailed. It's just so cool. Man.
Yeah, I wanted to make like a more detailed picture of Romilina, and also get this kind of feeling of like, okay, I really want it to be clear that he's kind of breaking out of this stone. But yeah,
because it's like you can basically do a whole page of little bits, you know, little panels showing that, but like it's, you know, I think it looks really cool just in that one panel, just saying, you know, this, you know, because some people can, you know, it depends on how long you want to make a graphic novel, right? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just cool to just do that one page. With me, I like to just put words on there, like dialogue that makes you center on the artwork rather than get you away from the artwork. Because that's why I love making sure the artwork, you know, is focuses on them first.
Exactly. And it's also like, I mean, right after this page with this panel, then we have this kind of breaking out completely. I think it gets across. Let's see. Then I have some really sloppy pencil pages as well.
Yeah.
So with the pencils, I don't do it too detailed. So here's pencils of one of the coming pages as well. So it's pretty rough.
Do you do the same size as well, like the A3 when you do the pencils, or?
Well, first, the stuff I gave you first, that's just on A4, so that's in the script,
Right.
and then I sketched it up on A3, and then I ink on the same page. Yeah. So here's also some really sloppy pencils. So this is also like because I know I'm going to be inking these pages. I don't put too much work on the pencils. I've already thought a lot about how it's supposed to look. So the pencils are just like, okay, this is where this goes, and then I ink it just almost right away. If I was only doing the pencils, then it would be a lot more detailed. I put more work on that bit.
Plus, I think Plus, I think it saves a lot more time by actually, doing a small, doing pencils and sketching it out and going, this is the idea I have, and then going to actually, getting more details and then stepping up and going to the inks. Because I think a lot of people don't want to work through the process. They want to go to the final piece, and then once you've done the final piece, there's no corrections you can do along the way as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that something like is that something you were taught to do when you went, to study and stuff? That like this is the process to work it to make life easier for yourself, or did you learn that yourself?
No, when I studied art, I didn't study like graphic art or this kind of stuff. I was studying fine arts, so we were doing like pencil portraits and oil paintings and things like this, and that's a bit of a different process. So sort of learning how to pencil and ink stuff, that's just looking at artists. Lots of artists give out like versions of their comics that are just pencils or just inks and stuff as well. More like artist editions. So I've just gone ahead and bought some of those and sort of just worked with those, going over pencils, like, okay, how does Greg Capullo pencil in Batman, stuff like this, and just working with it until I get a feeling for like, okay, how do I pencil up a piece so that it's easy to ink off of it,
Right.
And then also looking at just black and white ink editions of comics as well, to just see like, okay, when you only see the brush strokes, the pencil strokes, how does it look? There are a few like comics arts schools in Sweden as well, I think, but they're not really focused on how to do stuff technically. They're more focused on the storytelling aspect of it. Like comics in Sweden, it's very focused on sort of telling just stories from simple life. It's more like a form of visual journaling. I feel like lots of what comics is in Sweden. There are some really good comic artists that make more like fantasy, more detailed, more artistic comics as well. But they're not as widely published in Sweden as they are in maybe the US or in like Belgium and France, where they have more these kind of comics.
That's interesting, because like, I mean, you'd think like, I mean, that sort of art would be more in demand because fantasy is so popular right now, especially since Lord of the Rings came out, right? But was that like 20 years ago? And there was this huge sort of like following behind, and next thing you know, you got Game of Thrones, and that's even made it even more exciting for people to get into that sort of, fantasy worlds. And because at the end of the day, it's just like telling a story set in another world, and then you're able to use these different creatures and that world to push through your story. Like, I mean, Fantastical Romi I think it's like a 4-issue story, and then after that we've got Claritin I can't remember his last name, Truk, and that's like a barbarian story, right? It's basically this guy who's hunting down friggin' orcs or something because he's, you know, it's kind of like a Conan story, and then you've got this other one, and then so on, because it's an ongoing series, but like about 12 issues, but like each one's done in a way that like you actually get a specific story told in, you know, a set number of issues. It's why do you think, like, I mean, why do you think it isn't popular though? Like, you know, why fantasy isn't popular?
It's like historically, the more like superhero genre and these kind of comics, they had like an upswing in like the late 90s here as well. We had like, you know, Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff on the shelves, and the kind of license to publish that in Sweden, I think it was bought up by like one or two big publishing houses, and then when the interest in comics kind of dwindled, those big publishing houses sort of still retained the whole market more or less for distribution of comics, which sort of ended up in however anyone would try to maybe pitch a comic, it didn't really get taken up because the big publishing houses didn't want to do comics. They had like there are a few comics that are still like regular and popular in Sweden. There's like Donald Duck is still like a weekly issue.
Wow.
And for some reason, the Phantom is very popular in Sweden and still running.
Which is strange. Like I don't even think about like Phantom would be something, you know, big there. I know it's big in the Australia, and like I'm not here. Like you can go and see at a bookshop. There's piles of Phantom there, but I don't know anyone who reads Phantom. Right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But when that happened, when this kind of inflow of new stories was like shoved back, that kind of opened up an indie scene for comics instead, and that indie scene was more or less directed by small publishing houses that were more focused on like social and political commentary. So the comic art and the comics that became really big in like around like 2010-ish were more like satirical political comics. Really good comics, and very fun to read. But it kind of locked in how people get into drawing comics into like, okay, this is supposed to be like a kind of just like social documentation and political documentation, and you know, when something becomes big, that's what people follow. And when the fantasy genre and the superhero genre kind of dwindled away, people weren't looking at that and growing up with that. So the people who got into comics, they were looking at these new artists, and lots of the comics today have sort of become a continuing sort of mimicry of this political commentary. Also, I mean, comics in Sweden, it's seen a lot like an art form. You know, it's a very cultural expression. It's not so much a consumer product as far as what Swedish creators make. It's more like a piece of artwork. So that also means that a lot of what comics is comes through like cultural grants and stuff like this, and they're usually very focused not so much on the visual aspect of comics, but more on social commentary and on political commentary.
Right. So it's more geared, you know, it's more about what Swedish people are rather than what Swedish people can do or create, right? So
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's kind of like, I mean, also here, right? They also, you know, if you're getting a grant, it's got to like, how does it help our people? Not like, what is your artistic value to this. It's more like, what is it going to do for us? And I think a lot of that stops. It kind of stifles creative growth, like it's done for you guys, right? You haven't been able to like get grants to create amazing, fantastical creations where you're developing new works. All you're doing is regurgitating ideas that have already been from like 10 years ago, and nothing sort of allowing you to like really challenge yourselves. I think it's quite sad. I think for us, indie comics allows you to just go, this is what I think, and I think that's what, stuff like Kickstarter, stuff like, web comics and stuff has allowed us to like do whatever we want. And if anybody wants to say, well, you shouldn't do that, go, well, then go over there and do that. We want to do this and have fun doing this,
Yeah.
I think that's the cool things about like being able to do independent comics is like you can just create whatever you want and have fun at it. So how do you what have you felt like as someone who's been creating stuff, doing artwork for comics and stuff? How do you feel, with that being the background in Sweden, how do you feel like as an independent comic creator and artist, what has that meant for you, not being a way to step away from that sort of stifling?
Well, it's just meant that I don't really try to focus too much on kind of having a Swedish market in any way. Like when I've reached out and talked to authors, I mean they've been from like the US or Britain or Ireland or like New Zealand, and I don't know, I'm fine with that. There is a big indie comics scene in Sweden as well, and I don't know, I'm probably just a bit too focused on actually sitting down and just drawing, to get out there and go to convents and stuff like this and show my stuff off. The fun thing for me to do is to draw, and the sense I've gotten from going to those kind of like comics conventions and stuff is that the fun thing for them is to talk about comics, and to like, okay, I've made my fanzine and I want to show it to everyone. Like, I just want to draw.
Yeah.
I want a cool story and I want to draw it. What happens after that, it's amazing. Having stuff in print, super fun. But give me the next story. I want to draw more.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely going to get more stories from me because, like, I mean, we've got, like I said, we've got the Barbarian one coming up, and we've also got things like the big, this thing that becomes this big thing. Because I think Romi is interesting because it allows us to just give everybody an idea of this world, and not only that, but get to know these characters, both especially Zell, and to know Romi and know to Romalina when she comes up later on. Also, we haven't mentioned some other characters that show up, which is, really, I do like Ariel, and I do like Lucille, because I think they're going to be interesting characters to work on going forward as a mother and child thing, because now we're dealing with like kind of like a daughter and a de facto dad male mentor, and then we got but didn't mention here, and I think this is probably a good idea to work on. I'm actually writing a children's book about 100 pages based in this world, which has made me think about 5 years ahead, or was it 3 years ahead, of what's going to happen when everybody's together, because we haven't brought everybody together. So now I'm thinking like 5 years ahead, what it's going to be like when I brought everybody together, and what that's going to be like. Now, before going forward, Joakim, what are your influences? I know you mentioned Greg Capullo. Who else? That's a good question.
Yeah. So yeah, like Greg Capullo, I love his stuff. Grew up with it. I've been looking at it basically forever, feels like. Also really like Ryan Stegman. What he does is really cool. Like his stuff he did on Venom, that was great. I really love that run. Up on my reference shelf, I have David Mazzucchelli as well. He did a run on Daredevil, and he also did with Frank Miller, the Batman Year One. Amazing piece of artwork, I think. I also have there's a guy named Vincent Mallier, who I really like. For his kind of fantasy-based art, this is one of my favorite books as well. It's called Ténébreuse. It's like like Arthur, kind of alternative Arthur saga.
Oh, you mean King Arthur?
Yeah, exactly. So I like this kind of art.
Oh, what's in the cover? Can we see the cover?
Yeah. So this is like this.
Oh, that is the cover.
This is the cover. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is like an artisan kind of edition with just the black and white art. I got for studying purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what else? Mark Silvestri is amazing.
Yeah.
Of course.
Do I have a Silvestri? Is it Silvestri? Oh no, this is Turner. Sorry, I thought I had Silvestri, but this is Turner. Oh.
Yeah.
Because I think wasn't like Silvestri kind of like is very similar to Turner.
Yeah, I mean they're a bit like you said, like, oh no, this was Turner.
Yeah, I can't tell.
They look a lot alike, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sean Gordon Murphy, amazing artist. I love him. Daniel Warren Johnson, I also often bring out to kind of look at how I should set up panels and create fluidity and stuff in a story.
I thought I had his work, Sean Gordon's work right here, but I can't find it. I think it was Tokyo.
Tokyo Ghost.
Yeah, Tokyo Ghost was here. Oh no, here it is. Yeah, it's Tokyo Ghost work. I've got I think I've got 2 versions of issue 1, single floppies, but it's just really detailed, really cool. The blacks, a lot of work on the characters and stuff. But sometimes, having, here we go. It's like, having trade paperbacks is cool because you get to see all the different covers, as well. That's why I like releasing our books with extra pages, because I think having to see all this, work come out,
Yeah, it's nice.
So cool. To see the development of it all, the coloring and stuff, the stages of colors, it's friggin' awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like me, how does the friggin' letter, how do you come up with the final, logo designs? I was talking about that the other day. Like, it took me about probably 13, maybe 10 years before I got a logo for Incredible the way I wanted it. Like, because I did so many different ones and I wasn't happy all the time, up until I was finally able to, if it's here, it's probably not even here, but are you there? Let me just find it. But logos, it took me 15 years until I was happy with the logo, right? It took me that long because I designed about maybe just as many logos, 15 logos. But logos, because it's like it's what lets people know what the book is called. And so seeing him it's like you think that looks such a simple friggin' logo. Why did it take so long to come up with a logo, that's just like that?
Yeah.
How many trials did he get? It was like, what? Oh, we did 8 goes at it until we got it right. But even he didn't even mention all this, but that's his 8 goes on there. But it's so cool to like I said, trade paperbacks are really cool for that. Even if you have even if you can't even if you don't have like even if you collect the single issues, sometimes the trades are really cool for extra pieces. And I hate it when they don't release extra works. Like, why am I paying for a trade paperback if I'm not getting extra work, right? Because it's always helpful for new artists or new writers and stuff to see that, like to see the style of, like, especially when it comes to like how do people set up their their scripts, right? Or how do they work out a page, but also how do they work out learning, figuring out proportions to put on a page. Like, when you see this something like this, it's such a cool thing, right? Where is it? Back here. Right? So if you see something like that, and then you go, oh, there's some colors, and now he's trying to figure out, we're going to go a bit light, and then he gets to the final piece like that, right?
Yeah.
That way. So it's really cool to see something really cool finally, the finished pieces, because that means that, especially on a page like that, because it's like a what it's called, well, it's kind of reminds, what you did with the other one I just mentioned. Like, let me bring up this page, because we had there you go. Greg saying, yeah, he meant great in that one, some great influences, and he goes, I can see, yeah.
Thanks, man.
You can see the influences, but I can also see that it's your style as well. There's like this roundedness to the line work, which has got this real, I don't know, it's got this real kind of a warmth to it, right? I don't know if you got that, but like, it's like if you look at his work, it's really cool, but the line work is very cold, like stark.
Yeah, he's very sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can usually tell that's his style, because that's the way he's doing a lot of action and stuff like that. Whereas I think with Romi, there's a lot of warmth, and there's a lot of roundedness to the characters, which is really cool. Now I was going to bring up one of our works that we've got Ink that is going to go into a Australian anthology series. So now, where is it? So I had actually I should say volunteered, because this is a free work that we put out, volunteered to put a piece, to fix this pages, so that we could actually put this work out into an Australian, anthology series, which is, here's 2 pages, thank you, and we'll probably get a couple pages of a couple issues on the print cover, but like, this is like an old, artwork that was done, that I paid for me, that was like cut into 4 pieces for scanning. And so there was pieces that were actually missing, that weren't gelling together because of the scan. And because it's like over 12 years old, probably maybe about 13 years, I have no connection to the artist anymore. I don't know whether we've lost it, what's happened to him. But I paid for this work back then. But Joakim last week, said, hey, I'd like to help you out on this. So we got to actually get this work done, and it was really cool, because I got to rewrite the story, from scratch, and letter it and everything, and then hand it over and go, here, here's a brand new work for you to have to put into the anthology. So we'll get to see this for the first time, print form. We only had it digital, but some of this work hasn't actually been seen at all. So it's really cool to have have you come up and help us out with that. So let me show you. These are like really old, traditionally hand drawn pages that we had redone.
Yeah, I was considering, like, should I ink over this or something, but when I was looking at it and I just started cleaning it up, I'm like, I really like his style. I like how he does the faces. I like the line work. I like how he works with sort of rendering and blacking stuff out. So I really just ended up kind of cleaning them up a bit and stuff, so it works better in print. But yeah, really, really fun. kind of
I mean,
weird fun.
yeah, it's a full on like a horror comic. Like it's not, it's not a it's one of those haha book kind of things I'll just enjoy for readers. Like, and I think when we it's kind of like it's also like a preview to what's going to happen with the Kickstarter that we're bringing out with Templeton called Rise and Fall in like about October or something. The first issue is done. We've actually going to have Greg Harm, who's actually in the chat. He's actually going to be lettering it. I just put this out as a promo because
Nice.
this is this is a religion in the actual Plunge universe, which is called the Temple of the Polyhedron, and so this religion actually is part of the entire universe that we're creating. And there's we've got about 7-8 different books at the moment on the go that are this religion is going to be a part of. Even the sci-fi ones, where they're in the future, they're part of that as well. So I mentioned like this isn't a happy book. It's a full-on horror book, and it's probably the most brutal sort of like one of our pieces, like one of the most brutal works I've done, to be honest, as a writer. And so it was really cool because you can't even notice where Joakim's actually fixed it, right? So what was it like? I mean, like trying to redraw somebody's work.
Well, it was a bit like, I don't want to change stuff that he had done, and I don't want to add stuff. So in some places it was a bit hard because there were kind of large areas missing. And I think you can still see a hint of like a horizontal line right across the page, because the black areas I could fix a lot, and I did as much as I could with the more ink wash stuff as well. But yeah, I only recently kind of got access to a big format A3 scanner. So everything I've done, I've been scanning up, chopped up in pieces, and then putting it together. So it's like, yeah, I have to clean my stuff up all the time. But doing it on someone else's stuff, absolutely. In places, I felt a bit like, okay, what is supposed to be here? Am I adding something now? Am I taking something away? Like if you go straight up on the picture, just scroll straight up. Yeah, there like this 3 skulls. The one in the middle there. There was kind of like, is it supposed to have another tooth in the lower jaw, or is it not supposed to have an? I'll just leave it as it is. I don't want to add stuff. Stuff like that. Yeah,
but I mean, if you're just reading it, you won't notice because you not focusing on that, right? You're just looking at this friggin' overall picture. But like, that's the thing, like like details and stuff. Like I was looking at this guy here. I was like, when I was looking to do this page, I thought maybe I'll do a close-up panel of him speaking, and I think I removed him out because I was like, no, I want the entire, because this is when I was trying to figure out, should I frame each picture or like 4 separate images, because they weren't connected. So I was like, what I could do is I could just have a close-up of him, and I'll chuck it over here, it'll hide the line, and I'll do something else here. It's like, but when you said, I'll do that for you, and I was like, oh sweet.
Because it's a cool story, and this page especially, it's like, no, you can't chop it up. It's got to be a big spread page. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, while we're doing that, I'll just show you the work from the upcoming book that we've got with James, who is doing the actual full new story, which is Rise and Fall, and you get to see his work as well. So there's this one here. And this whole first issue is already done. So, he's working on issue 2 now, and he's up to about page 4. And like everybody else, he's working full time. He's got a family and stuff. So, you know, he's taking his time and stuff to do that. And so this is, you know, you probably saw the, you know, the angel from before, you know, pulling. So this, you know, this is kind of continues on. So this is one of another sort of 6-issue graphic, you know, kind of graphic novel, 6-issue floppy set. And
nice.
yeah, so, you know, you get to see different things going on with different creatures. And, you know, Templeton looks totally different, and even that's why I changed the story of actually Templeton and the others and made him into this other character. But the center stays the same, you know, because it's his own realm now. You know, so mature comics. So, you know, you've got all
that's nice flavor.
Yeah, you know, but I love this. Look at the look on here. You know, Spencer work is just freaking awesome. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, this is a mature comic, so I better flip off that from, you know. But yeah, there is some great horror. You know, it's a full-on horror comic, so it's not trying to be anything tame.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, like I said, this is like the most full-on comic I'm doing, which is, and I was like humming and hawing at that, like, do we, you know, thanks, Greg. You too, mate. Yeah, I think it's early morning there or midnight. I don't know what time it is in America right now, but it is like about 10:30 in Sweden right now for you, right? Or is it
it's 11:30 now. Yeah.
All right. So with that, I think it's probably a good time for us to close off. There we go. It's 4:30 a.m. Greg says. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathaniel, as well. I'm not sure what you guys are doing this late, but we'll see you soon. I'll check out. Yeah, do check out both these guys' channel. I'm not sure if Greg's got one. He's on Facebook, but do check out. Hey, Greg, what's your while you're there, let me go find your channel. Your wife. His wife's just got a kids book out, so let me go find that. Where are we? Get there so we can, before we finish off, we can showcase Greg's channel. You know, you can go figure out Greg, because he's also, you know, working with us as well. So here we go. So this is Greg's Facebook page here. He's a colorist and also an artist. So that's his page. So you can go check out his stuff. And I'll just get over to his, if I remember, he's posted some stuff about his wife's where are we? I hate to show you guys this, you know, private stuff, but let me go to this is some of his cool work, so you can see that.
Nice.
Just, yeah, really, you know, interesting style of work and stuff. But gosh, where is, hopefully I'm not doxing you here, but it's on his public stuff. Where is his, where's this? Hold on, let me see if I can find it through just a name. Kids book. Maybe it won't come up, but I can't remember when it was posted, but it's, so anyway, I'll find it somewhere sometime, but let's get out of there. So in finishing, as we always do here, we do our words of wisdom thing. Joakim, I think, you know, I'm not sure if you are aware, but we do a words of wisdom, which is give you 3 to 5 minutes to, as we finish up, to, you know, some pass on some knowledge to future people or current people who are watching this. And I'll give you, a couple of minutes to think about it. And while you're doing that, I'll put us across to show you where you can get our latest book, which is Robot Nation, which Joakim has a work in, and also, has as a cover, and I should say, which is this one here, of course, which we talked about earlier. But you can actually buy our, black and white version of this before we go to print for Kickstarter, and for only $2.99 US, which is a good cup of coffee, right? So, and here we go. So, yeah, well worth the wait. Looking forward to seeing more from Joakim. Awesome.
Thanks, Nathaniel.
So, yeah, do please check out our website here. It is called risingsunpublishing.com. A lot of words, long words there, but you'll find amazing comics from independent creators. That's what we're about here on this channel, is to showcase people who have work that's outside the mainstream, who are doing amazing work. A lot of times you don't see it because everybody just talks about Marvel and DC, so you don't get to see other amazing work. So let me get to the store. See, over here, if you go to the site, I'm pretty large on the screen there. Let me bring that down. At the shop, once you get to the shop, you can see all the different, comics that are already out, non-profit ones, the ones owned by, Rising Sun Comics that works with, their own creatives. You got amazing work. This one here has actually been on Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, webcomics, sold out. So you can get in digital. Print was sold out. Volume 2 is being worked on right now. Great book, very cool. It's really, really awesome stuff. Really enjoyed this this work. The art is amazing because it's just a different style of art. It's very unique, and so you can check that out. And you've got Hired Kill, you got Collapse is another cool one that I quite like. And if you got after issue 12 on pre-orders there now, if you have kids, young kids who are into want a bit of activity and stuff, in their comics books, so the Tall Tales is really good because in there there's like like what do you call it, like word finding, like secret words and stuff for alphabets and stuff. So that's a pretty cool, especially get with young kids, kind of like alien armadillos kind of thing, right? Sci-fi sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. So that's up to issue 12 as well. So you get on PDF, read it with the kids on your, here's something to read kids on your tablet, right? There's also equations. There's studio books and all that. A whole bunch of stuff is out here from really cool creatives, right? These are really cool artwork, good stuff to look at, and do check it out. Now back to our program, where now hopefully I've given you enough chance to think of time to think about the words of wisdom. So I'm going to put you on solo, and as we finish off here, I'll get you to give some thoughts.
All right. Words of wisdom. I'd say for all of us to really just be happy with being alive. We need to take a step kind of back from everything around us and just think about what we really want to do. If there's no prize to win, if there's no finish line, if there's no goal at all with what we're doing, more than to just be happy and content with what we're doing. What we need to be happy in life is to find that thing, to find the passion for that thing.
the thing we would do, no matter what, you know, just because we have the opportunity to do it. Yeah, I think that's the direction everyone needs to find in their life. For me, it's just drawing comics. It's simple, it's easy, it's fun, and I can do it whenever I want. So find your thing.
Awesome. Excellent. So that's us for tonight, guys. And wherever you are, I know it's daytime, you know, it's about lunchtime for you over there in Sweden. So it's actually, was it like 9:45 p.m. here in Saturday night in New Zealand, and your Saturday midday, right? Is it midday now?
Yeah.
So wherever you are, guys, be well, be safe, take care. And any last words, Joakim, before I close up here?
No, just thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome. All right, guys, like I always say, wherever you are, if they've got a loved one close by, give them a hug and a kiss. Let them know that you care. You don't know what they're going through today, so maybe that might put a smile on their face, make them feel a bit better. And if they're not close by, you got internet, you know, you've got the web, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you've got everything in your hands to, you know, make somebody's day better, whatever that may be. Joke, a song, a meme, you know, some artwork, whatever it is, to bring somebody's, you know, brightness into somebody's life today. Do that, you know, have a fun time, have a great day, have a great night wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. Ka kite anō.